Ritchie is a beloved figure in the town of Mount Pleasant, serving as police chief for many years until he retired earlier this summer. Now he wants to tackle issues such as infrastructure, jobs, and housing on Mount Pleasant Town Council. I speak exclusively a call for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Carl Ritchie, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Obviously, you need no introduction. For many, many years, you served as a police chief for the town of Mount Pleasant, and obviously you just retired this past summer. And in fact, you said this quote, "Serving the town of Mount Pleasant has been an honor of a lifetime. None of it would have been possible without the department's steadfast and courageous men and women dedicated to the community they protect. I would like to commend the entire police department for their unqualified commitment to the excellence. I am equally grateful for the leadership and support of the mayor, council, and town administrator have shown us throughout the years." Where are you still emotionally?
Wow, that's I think about it often. I truly miss the people. You know, I miss the community. You know, I've served for 37 years, including my military police time and my civilian police time, and 32 of those years are right here at Mount Pleasant. And like you said, last 8.5 years I was the police chief. Had such a wonderful community that supported our police department where there was no politics involved. I don't care what side of the aisle you were on, they supported our police department, and our police department supported them.
Right.
You know, we made sure that their constitutional rights were protected. We may not have always agreed, but man, we made sure you were heard, and we made sure our town was safe. So I miss those folks. I'm still connected to many of them, thank goodness. And I miss the men and women I work with. But what I do not miss is those 2 o'clock in the morning phone calls, being able to call 24/7, constantly had to leave dinners and go answer phone calls for emergencies. And I understand when I get on council, there'll still be some of that. But I'm prepared to continue serving this great town.
Well, let me just talk to you about the obvious. Mount Pleasant Town Council. You announced early this summer that, hey, I'm going to run for Mount Pleasant Town Council. What got you from being the town's top cop to now saying, hey, I want to represent the residents on town council?
You know, this town has done so many great things for me and my family. You know, I raised my family here. I live here. They all graduated Wando. I was involved in coaching. I just feel like, yes, it was time to move on from the law enforcement arena, but I still have so much to give this town. I strongly believe in what our town represents. And I had a lot of folks from the community reach out to me and say, Chief, we really would like to see your leadership on this council. They know I'm very transparent, I'm very accessible, I'm no nonsense. I'm going to listen to you. And if I can't give you what you want, I'll at least tell you this is why I can't at this time, or how can we get to a compromise? Because I think we're missing in this world right now, and Mount Pleasant as well, is the ability to compromise with each other and come to a consensus. I believe that over my 37 years, especially my last 8.5 years, I have the ability to bring opposing groups together that may not see eye to eye, but they certainly respect each other's views and respect what each other have to say. And I think I still got that left in me that I can still do. And in this world, we need that more than ever right now.
What are you listening to right now? Obviously, you know a lot of residents in the town of Mount Pleasant, but what are you listening to right now when it comes to the issues?
You said who or what? I couldn't hear you.
Yes, sir. What are you listening to when it comes to the residents, when it comes to issues right now in the town of Mount Pleasant?
Well, obviously, you know, the issues of traffic, you know, jump out. You know, it's always, if you've ever sat in any of that traffic, you know exactly what that's about. You hear about that. And, you know, and I know the town has several road projects that have already been approved. They just need to get them finished. You know, that there's ways that we can get this traffic, these disabled vehicles moving better. Right now, you get behind a disabled car that sits in the middle of the lane until a wrecker shows up. We got to do better than that. Because, you know, that backs things up. So I think working with that and working with the timing of the lights, we can keep that moving. And obviously, the most important thing right now is public safety. You see what's going on in the world. You see what's going on in the communities around us, unfortunately. I love my fellow police chiefs across the bridges. You know, there's a lot of violence going on in those cities. And Mount Pleasant has that concern, obviously, as well. but you always reassure them. We have such a great police department who is very much in tune with our community. We have community members who are willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with us when we're addressing these difficult topics, and keeping that violence out of here in the right way. So, that's a concern. And we have this mental health, and substance use disorder. I've worked closely with Wake Up Carolina, Nancy Shipman. I'm sure she's love her to death. I remember when she first started this, she came to my office many years ago and said, I have a vision. I want to do this. And I said, how can I be part of it? And, with COVID and the lockdowns, and I think mental health more than ever now needs to be on the forefront too. We have to look at it. And we as a town government can't address it all. Just like Wake Up Carolina and Nancy and her folks can't address it all. The county facilities can't address it all. But we as a group can work together and support each other to make a more mentally healthy community. And we need to work on those things.
Okay, Chief, let me ask you, what is the quality of life right now in the town of Mount Pleasant?
I think it's very high. I mean, year after year after year, we went up as being one of the top 5 safest cities in the nation. And I think it's still high. People aren't afraid to walk the streets. They're not afraid to go to stores. They're not afraid to talk to their neighbors. And I don't care what race or ethnic group or where you fall. Everyone feels safe here. No one's worried about a police officer harassing them on the streets. We make sure that's ingrained in our officers. That we have some of the best public services around. Our town is clean. There's a reason people are moving to this community from all over when they retire. A lot of times when people retire, they go on to Florida, I guess for the tax break, or they move out. Here I retire, I'm already here because we have such a great community. And we have a good town government that is quick to respond to the needs and wants of our community. Look at our recreation programs, second to none. So our quality of life is extremely good. We just have to work very hard to maintain that.
What has been the most important thing that has changed in the town of Mount Pleasant over the past 4 years in your mind?
Population, obviously. I mean, we got more and more folks moving here. We got more and more folks that want to move here. But I think that an attainable housing where you can't, some folks who want to live here can't afford to live here. And I've used my daughter pretty much regularly as an example when I've talked to groups. My daughter, raised here in Mount Pleasant, graduate from Wando, graduate from MUSC. She now has a PhD in occupational therapy. As well, they can't afford to live in the town of Mount Pleasant. She wants to move back into her town and buy a home. So she makes too much money to live in what they consider the attainable housing or the workforce housing, but not enough. So we have to find that middle ground where these young professionals can get back in the town they love. We need those folks here because we're not always going to be, you and I aren't always going to be the ones here working every day and making sure things are done right. We need those folks to live here in the town. And I think we can make that happen, working with our developers, working with our real estate folks. There's ways to get these young professionals so they can live in the town they love and grew up in.
I just turned 37, Chief, so I'm hoping to live a long time.
And I know you will.
God willing.
Good.
Yes, sir. But, I wanted to ask you this. What is it? Is it attainable housing? Is it affordable housing? Or is it workforce housing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's all wording. It's really the same thing. But unfortunately, when neighborhoods who want to push against it hear the word affordable, they automatically think of housing projects, low income where there's crime. That's not the case. And believe me, even those kind of projects, they have great people to live in them. I've known folks that just here in Mount Pleasant, wonderful folks. So we've got to get that stigma off of it. I think it's more of attainable housing workforce. If you make it where that young professional, that blue collar worker can get in here, our first responders, our public service folks can afford to live in the town they work in. Because let me tell you, they would love to work in the town they live in. They take a lot of pride in this town, and if they can afford to live here, they would. The term I like to use is attainable. That way, it's within reach of those who work hard, save their money, get their down payments, and and that they can live here in Mount Pleasant.
But then, what's more important for the town right now, Chief? Is it building new homes in commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing the existing homes?
Wow. I don't know there's much room to build more right now. To be honest with you, you read and hear about how most of these developments are already built out. I think we're going to have to work with what we currently have, our current inventory, and identify some of that housing that can be earmarked as attainable for our first responders and young professionals. I just don't think you can necessarily build a neighborhood that caters just to that group. You got to have a good balanced mix. I think of the higher end homes, more expensive homes that we all aspire to own one day, and have that attainable housing that's kind of mixed in there. These townhomes that are coming up, I think that's a great alternative. But even those are getting that priced way out of most folks can afford. And I think if we can work with we currently have with our real estate folks out here, we can come up with something to get these folks back into town. This is a win-win because then they're living in the town, they're spending more money in our shop, in our grocery stores, and taking advantage of our great schools. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Can you identify any housing trends in the town, whether it be absentee landlords, mortgage foreclosures, decreasing home values, or even increasing house prices?
Well, I don't see many absentee landlords here in Mount Pleasant. I mean, the ones who do rent out have services that they manage them. So, when I was working with the police force, we never really had issues with that.
Okay.
I do think the prices have gone up and have gotten very high. And I know our realtors love that. They make money off of it. It comes back to supply and demand. When you don't have as many homes, but you have so many people wanting to move to this great town, that's one of those unintended consequences of being such a great, livable, high-quality white town that people want to move in here. So I don't believe our homes are not losing value by any means. They're going up in value. We're not looking at poorly kept neighborhoods. Every neighborhood in this town, people have that civic pride. They care about where they live. So I think to answer that question, if anything, the prices keep going up, and at some point there's going to be a ceiling to where our folks can afford to live here.
Where in the town do you identify and also develop those unique characteristics when it comes to residential, commercial, and mixed use?
Oh. Well, obviously, some of the already current buildings that are here, we don't have a lot of vacant buildings here, but I think I would encourage redevelopment. I hate to see going through other communities abandoned buildings. Because if a building stands abandoned, next thing you know, you have vandalism, you have crime. Mount Pleasant does a pretty good job of not having that happen. But it would be nice to see a quick turnaround of some of these empty buildings. I think the Cracker Barrel was sitting on the corner of 6 Mile and 17 right now.
Yes.
It didn't make it, unfortunately, but now it's been sitting vacant for a long time. I start seeing abandoned cars already currently in the parking lot. I'm seeing it's become an RV park. People park there.
Right.
And that's not what it should be. We should have developers ready to step in. It's not a restaurant, turn it into some kind of a workspace. So folks that do live here in Mount Pleasant can walk to work or set up a new business, either for entrepreneurs. And I think we do a fairly good job at that. That's what we got to keep identifying is when homes are built or the current homes that we have, townhomes, should have some type of business component in it where those folks can get up and go to work without getting in a car, add more traffic. They can walk to their office, or like I am sitting here on my computer. I mean, if the pandemic's taught us anything, we could certainly work remotely without always having to go on the road. So I mean, there's many opportunities where there can be a good balanced mix that encourages entrepreneurs and businesses to open up right here in Mount Pleasant in some of the current buildings we have, and then encourage our folks to live nearby so they can commute easily.
I was just by Cracker Barrel just on Monday. I was coming from Harris Teeter for lunch, and I had to go and do some work for my job, so I walked right by there, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But let me ask you this, Chief. We talk about this a lot, and What incentives do you want to have for the developers?
Whew. Again, I'm coming into this as a first responder and a public safety professional, so I'm learning more and more about real estate as we go. And I've talked to many of my colleagues that are in the real estate or development business. I think there's impact fees. You really have to look really close at those. Are we pricing people out of coming into Mount Pleasant? Are the impact fees too high? I think it's something that I've heard time and time again, especially on existing properties that have already had impact fees on them. I know there's been some work by our current council and our mayor to reduce that or eliminate that if there's already been impact fees, but I think sometimes that scares them away. The incentives are already here, though. If you've got a safe place to open a business, I don't know how much more we need to offer them other than you have a great town to work in, you have great infrastructure, we're working on the traffic, you've got a great public service, fire, police, so your employees and your customers feel safe. So the incentives are already there, to be honest with you.
And how do you maintain and enhance the existing residential and commercial character of the town and provide for compatible, appropriate, and high quality development and redevelopment?
Well, we have a great planning department, and planning committees who, when the plans come to them, they look at it and make sure they fit what Mount Pleasant is all about, and they properly fit in that area, and they don't, impact negatively on the communities around them. They got to be good neighbors when they come in. We don't want something that's an eyesore stuck out in the middle of nowhere to take away from our community. So I think working with our planners, working with our committees and our developers, I think the town does a pretty good job of making sure what is proposed fits properly. And sitting in council meetings, as a chief over the years, I've watched it go back and forth where, they've been asked to go back to the drawing board or compromises made. And I think that's the kind of things that need to happen here. That needs to continue being good compromise between the developer and between our town officials and our town staff, and making sure whatever's done is for the best of this community.
How many homes in the town of Mount Pleasant have been built at a fairly consistent rate?
I wish I knew the answer, but I don't. I know the town put the moratorium in to stop the permits or to reduce the number of permits. I know at one time it was we had quite a few houses being built on the properties that are out there, but I'd have to look for that number, and I'm sure you can get it. I don't know that exact number.
And we all remember when the Save Shem Creek Corporation posted during their last election about the Shem Creek parking garage being Linda Page's vision. Is the Peach Orchard Plaza going to be Will Haney's vision for Mount Pleasant, in your mind?
No, you have to ask Will Haney that. I don't know. I think anything that goes up has got to aesthetically fit that area. We just do not want to take away from our heritage and our history and our culture here. So it has to fit. Shem Creek's a beautiful place, and I wish the garage hadn't been put there. Maybe there'd been a different place for it. I wasn't involved in that planning part, but we love the way the creek looks. And again, but as far as Peach Orchard goes, I think you'd have to ask Will Haney what his vision is on that. So I'm really not sure.
No worries, not at all. Okay, what strategies would you implement to promote economic vitality and financial stability for the town of Mount Pleasant while maintaining its residential character and preserving its natural beauty?
And I hope I'm answering your question right. I think with these businesses that come in here, you want to encourage them to have a business that fits in whatever footprint they're going on, that not only provides them a form of income, but also gives back to the community in a positive way, whether that's through jobs, through financial contributions. But I really think more jobs. The folks that come in here to bring business have got to bring business in here that our folks want to work in. I talk to my friends in the food and beverage industry. They're struggling. Well, most places are struggling to get employees. we're struggling to get folks to work here in Mount Pleasant. So we need to those businesses need to be identified that they come into this town and offer jobs to our residents, so our residents can live and work in Mount Pleasant. That would be the contribution I'd like to see.
I wanted to ask you this later on, but I'm gonna jump to it right now. How do you help local businesses boost their competitiveness among other businesses coming into the town?
Well, obviously making sure that our planning process and our approval process is robust enough to make sure it fits within the town, but doesn't take a long period of time. That's some of the complaints I've heard. Somebody will apply for a permit. It could take months, years even, to get what a permit that they need, and they're sitting on investment money that they'll take somewhere else. So I think just hearing from different developers, I think that needs to really be looked at. How can we, as a town, work with these developers or these different businesses coming in to help them and just streamline the process so we don't miss anything, but they're able to quickly get their investment into this town, and then we're able to effectively but quickly enough review it to make sure it fits what our town is all about. And that could be a win-win for both.
How would you create a business preservation alliance?
I think you need to start with the business owners, first of all. You need to get, and I know like the restaurants have their associations, and some of the different commercial folks have their associations, the different chambers. Mount Pleasant has a chamber, the Charleston Area Chamber. I think we've got to get these business owners working with these chambers, working with each other to talk about their needs, their concerns, but also have a representative, whether it be on council, or town staff on the town, to hear about it, and not wait to hear about it 6 months, a year down the road when it's already become such a problem that it's not too far away from them, but something that we could all sit down and talk about immediately and come up with a solution so we can keep those businesses here. So I'm afraid a lot of businesses will come in, they'll stay here for a little while, maybe not feel they're getting the support they need, or they feel they can get it elsewhere, but I'd rather have an opportunity to keep them here and have that coalition, if you will, of the stakeholders that are with those businesses, along with our town officials that can work with them.
Who are the stakeholders that are coming to the table right now, Chief?
Well, our chambers it's pretty robust. I've been to the Mount Pleasant Chamber several times as a chief when they recognize our first responders monthly, which is incredible. That's the core group, I think, right now, and they do a fantastic job of promoting our businesses, especially new businesses that come in town. It's an opportunity for them to introduce themselves and what they have to offer. Then we've got the chamber itself to continue to provide support for those businesses. And I think the same with the Charleston Chamber. They work hand in hand with the different municipal chambers to encourage those businesses, first of all, to thrive when they become new businesses, offer them that mentorship on how to make it in such a tough economy right now, and then hopefully that keeps them here in the town. So I think we got a good starting network, but we need to get more of these folks at the table and get more of the town officials at the table to work closely with them to keep them. We don't want to lose good business.
And speaking of the economy and COVID, obviously, what is the labor force right now?
Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me nationally. I do know, talking to my colleagues there at the town, people want to work for the town of Mount Pleasant. I talked to the police department just the other day. Yes. They have 15 or 20 new officers that are currently in the background process now. So staffing is coming in. You look at the different departments within the town. They have folks waiting to come on to work for the town of Mount Pleasant. It's a great place to work. If it hadn't been, I wouldn't have been here for 32 years. I can tell you that. They for the most part, they take good care of their employees. The recent wage and comp study, I think, is going to go a long way. It's a great start. Getting some better pay. And you have to pay for the talent. Mount Pleasant has the talent, has the best of the best, and that's how you retain them. And we need to continually evaluate that, annually. Are we doing the right thing? Are we doing what we need to do to pay and keep this workforce. But I see this in the police department. When they come in, we have a lot of career-minded folks. If we get them to that 10-year mark, we know they're here to stay, and we work on internally within the town. We've always worked for career development. We look for professional development. If you sincerely want to be part of the executive group or supervisory group of this town will work to promote from within. I'm an example of that. I was promoted chief from within. The new chief, he was with me for 25 years before he took that position, promote from within. That just really helps stabilize, I think, an organization, knowing that if I work hard, like I did as a six-speed patrolman, I can work my way up to top cop, or a firefighter can work his or her way up. The fire chief, our public works folks, can go from riding on a trash truck, doing what they do great every day, becoming the head or superintendent of their division. Those things are going on. I like any business, we're going to have turnover. I think the town and the individual department heads do what they can to keep them here.
In your 8 years as police chief, Mr. Ritchie, what was the retention rate?
It was high. With our turnover, we would only lose people that were either their spouse took a job out of state and left, or a few retirees that never come about. We were not losing people to other agencies. Actually, we had other agencies reaching out to us, officers, and we didn't come work for you in Mount Pleasant. So we did a really good job of retaining our talent. Obviously, we'd identify the ones that didn't fit what Mount Pleasant was all about, and we either tried to change that mindset and work with them and train them, or we'd send them on their way. But we did a pretty good job of maintaining staff.
And let me turn back to quality of life. How do you accommodate multi-use trails, wildlife areas, and low-impact drainage area ideas by creating pockets of interconnected and actually protecting those open spaces that allow for interactions with nature?
My gosh, that's huge. I mean, we need that. I like to see those bicycles, and some people don't like golf carts, but I prefer to see a golf cart on a specific path for them to use versus a car on the highway. I live here in Park West, and I see Laurel Hill Park used all the time. Families out there walking, jogging, running. The town is doing a better job of getting paths in neighborhoods where folks can walk to each other's homes. There's more and more shopping popping up around residential areas where you can walk to it or bike or golf cart to get there. The town has always really, really hard with the green spaces. I look at our beautiful waterfront park and how that's been developed and used, and we continue to have thoughts. I think that will always be one of the top agendas for the town, is to maintain, our green spaces, and for our kids that can get out and run, play, and enjoy our recreation. And so I think we're doing a good job there, and we're going to keep on doing a good job there.
How would you push for safety measures within the new and existing transportation facilities that are regionally?
Say it again?
Yes, sir. How would you push for safety measures within the new and existing transportation facilities regionally?
I mean, if you're talking about public transportation, is that what we're talking about?
Yes, sir. New and existing.
Right. Obviously, it's needed, public transportation, and CARTA is our biggest provider of public transportation. I think we've got to maintain what we're doing now. We ensure that, that the buses or whatever transportation is clean, serviceable, on time. I have heard again, I always go back to my folks in the food and beverage industry. We need to have later running services so they can get home. I hear sometimes services in several hours before their shifts are over at nighttime. So, and working with the regional group to make sure that whatever happens in the counties, that that join us positively impact both communities. So we're ensuring that we're getting the most out of the money that we're spending on these.
And how should the town include new bike and pedestrian facilities and programs into its existing transportation network?
Well, I think it has to be on page one of development when we're doing these. You have to have a safe place for adults and kids to ride bikes and walk that's separated enough from the vehicle traffic so we don't have these vehicle pedestrian accidents we have. If you have that more connectivity and safer connectivity, I think you'll have to see more people using it. And I do believe that's the case. I know the Shin Creek Bike Path is one of the big things. That's one of the projects that's been approved that hopefully will be done soon. That'll connect, you'll be able to ride across the Shin Creek Bridge or bike, catch some of those boardwalks and walk to the restaurants and just enjoy that nature you're talking about. So it has to be on the front.
Let me go to Shin Creek. Obviously, as you know, there's some problems right now with noise. And, it's the residents versus business owners. What is that shared common ground that everybody should come to right now with that?
I think it has to be reasonable for both. But the businesses have to be able to have their music, their amplified music, their something for the patrons to enjoy. But our residents who live in that general area also have a right not to have the noise coming into their home. So, and I know I'd heard from our restaurant partners in that as well. I shared it with Councilman Santos, who's currently sitting, and he's kind of taking the lead on this right now, is to work on an acceptable decibel level. There's already the noise ordinance out there, talks about the times, and then I think in the Shin Creek area you have to have a permit for so many outdoor amplified music. But if there's an acceptable decibel level as well as time level, that's when we as neighbors just have to learn to get along with it and then do what we can to buffer that. And I know the restaurant owners I've talked to and met with, they do everything they can to turn speakers and buffer it. Then again, you have to realize it's not always just the restaurant owners talking about Shin Creek. You get these boats with these big speakers and big systems, better than I ever had as a teenager in my car, coming down the creek, enjoying the day, but not realizing what they're doing around everybody. So we just ought to do a better job of first talking to our neighbors, listening to each other, and coming up with some consensus and compromise. And that's okay to do.
Would you be in favor, Chief, of establishing a state-of-the-art connectivity system that connects residents and visitors to the top attractions in towns and recreational spots?
Oh, of course. And I think the town, on our webpage, of the town's website, and our community development folks, they do a really good job of pushing out different events in the town. But yeah, the more and more that we can advertise or make known to our residents and our citizens, the better. We have we have such great history and diversity and culture here in this town that needs to be showcased. I love my friends across the bridge. I grew up on Johns Island, born and raised here. I know about the culture over there, but I can stay right on the side of the bridge right here and see so much we have. And I would love to see more of the this advertisement or promotion of what we have here in Mount Pleasant. And that can start with a cultural art group that can sit down together, say, what do we already have out there? What are we missing? And how can we get it to our citizens? We have a lot of good stuff out here that we can all learn from each other and share each other's different experiences.
Okay, what are those historic sites, that is, natural area, and obviously scenic vistas that are worth recognizing?
Well, about our sweetgrass, my gosh. I mean, we've done a really good job with that. I love Miss Thomas, Stokes Marshall. She's one, by the way, one of the first people I spoke to when I was considering running.
Oh.
And, she's been a great mentor and encouraged me doing it. We have that in Ritchie. We have the Yorktown. Yes. Don't forget about our military history that's here. Rifle Range Road.
Right.
There's a rifle range during the time that was used to train our military. We have to look at that. I think the list is going on. We have to recognize our plantations. It's part of our history. We cannot erase history. We have to look at it, identify it, and learn from. And we just have some beautiful areas out here. Our marshes and our wildlife, our shrimpers. My gosh, we talk about culture, history. Just look at our shrimpers on Shem Creek and all they bring to this community. There's a lot out there. I think I'm just scratching the surface, and I think I'm probably missing many of the different things out there. But our own high schools in this town. You talk about some cultural programs. Wando Band just won state again, or now I'm sorry, national recognition. Come on,
Right.
It's here. It's here. Let's keep pushing it out.
Besides places like 6 Mile, 10 Mile, I was just there yesterday. What other local communities in the town of Mount Pleasant need to be enhanced, elevated, and actually protected?
Wow. Well, you said some of the big ones there, obviously. Think of Hickory Shadows. If you want to talk about an attainable housing community, it wasn't one time. Those prices getting pretty high, but that was such a diverse neighborhood. We want to make sure it stays with that type of character. That type of neighborhood needs to stay. You look going down Rifle Range Road now, some of the older, more established neighborhoods. Let's not get rid of them. Let's maintain them. Let's encourage these HOAs to make sure their properties are looking good, which they all do. So I think you've hit them, and then plus the ones I just spoke about.
How do you hope the town of Mount Pleasant will work with Waterworks, obviously, to identify and provide opportunities in those settlement communities to be able for people to actually connect to good water and sewer?
Well, like you said, that is a Waterworks project, and they're the ones that control that. Obviously, we as a council member, and other council members, we can certainly be that voice for our residents in our surrounding neighborhoods and communities that come to us that want that type of service. Where we can at least be that advocate, where we can sit down with those elected officials that are with Waterworks and try to discuss what compromises are available.
And how should the town build trust with its residents?
I think keep doing what we're doing. I mean, I can't imagine. There's always going to be someone out there that doesn't trust government. But I'm going to tell you, again, speaking from the police department point of view, we worked on it every single day. We built that trust every day. And I've been interviewed by many national police magazines talk about how did you succeed with first the Unity Walk, and then of course with the civil unrest we had recently. I said my key word was, if you're trying to develop relationships during a crisis, you fail. Develop relationships every single day. As the town government, be available, be transparent, be accessible to your town. And I know that's going on, and we just have to continue doing that. Is not only, we're just not in that building where we do our work. We're out in that community. We're part of that community. We're willing to listen. We're willing to address and confront tough topics. And that's what we need to continue doing. We continue to build that trust. We have strong trust right now, I think, for the most part, and we just got to continue it.
And obviously, you talk a lot about the population and how the town is actually growing. What has been the growth rate in the town of Mount Pleasant in the past 10 years or so?
Astronomical. Without a lot of numbers in front of me, but I can tell you when I started Mount Pleasant, Smitty Farm was far north as we went. That was way out there. We had 30 police officers. Population, 25,000, 30,000 or so at the most. And now we're knocking on that 100,000 mark. Growth is good. Obviously for the town, the right kind of growth and managed growth. I think the town has done its best to do that. I don't see them not still coming. Folks want to live in a beautiful, good community. But they may have worked somewhere else. When they retire, they are looking for a place to be safe, to enjoy the amenities we have, the culture we have you talked about, and even families that are moving here. They want their children to be able to grow up in a safe community and thrive, like mine did. So I'm not sure how much more we can grow, but I think they're still coming.
As a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you this, Chief. How should the town of Mount Pleasant plan to slow outward expansion of the town limits and focus on making necessary changes that would actually, stay within the town limits?
I think we're almost as far north as we can go. I mean, we're right there at town limits. I mean, we're out there. The planned developments, that the ones that are already planned, can let them continue to build because it's already been approved. Obviously, making sure that our services keep up with that demand, right? Again, they're already coming. They're already here. A lot of permits have already been approved. Even the homes that are vacant are being filled quickly. Businesses are being filled. We cannot ignore the fact we need trash trucks to pick up their garbage. We need police officers to protect their properties. We need firefighters to respond to their emergencies. We need rec to respond to their recreational needs. So the town has to keep up with that. We have to look at what we already have and continue to improve on what's already there.
What are the recreational needs right now in Mount Pleasant?
And I've heard Councilman Santos say this. I truly think we need to get more of these events into our town. You got some of these college events, college track events, things that we could bring into the town. You talk about providing more revenue for the town. That's a great place for people to come. First of all, compete, but then eat, sleep in our town. We got soccer team recently moved from Dana Island over here, so that's starting to take off. As far as our children go, I think our recreation programs for them is second to none. They have so much available to them, not just sports, but the cultural arts side of it. Our adults have great recreation. Our seniors, look at our senior center.
Yes.
You're not there yet, but I'm getting there. where the town really looks at that and recognizes that this is a great place to live and play, and we want that to continue. So we just need to encourage some of the bigger events in the town and not let them all go right across the bridge at Denton's. Those baseball events. Let's get some over here too. Let's get some track events over here.
Okay, well, what is the town's current tax base?
Honestly, I don't have the answer to that question. That's something I look up for you.
Okay.
I know the budget's like $111 million. I do know that.
Okay.
So.
Okay. How should the town explore multiple sources of revenue to minimize any risk to the town's current financial stability, that is?
Sure. And I've been asked that question before. And again, the town administrator, town staff, they do a great job with the monies we have now and the revenues we have coming in. I would encourage the use of more grants that are out there. There's so many state and federal grants available to municipalities, whether it be police grants, fire grants, recreation grants. So I would encourage and support our staff to look for those grants. It's not no such thing as free money. Believe me, the taxpayers have already paid for that money. But once that's available to us, let's get some of that money in this town to improve on our needs. And I think there's plenty out there available, and we can identify staff members and really go out there and seek that.
Hey, with so much going on in the town of Mount Pleasant right now, Mr. Chief, who is best to lead the town of Mount Pleasant as mayor?
I'm not going to answer that one. I am proud of everyone, every council member or every council candidate and the mayoral candidates who put themselves out there. Being a chief is one thing, but I've learned a lot since I announced back in July that I wanted to run. I think I would encourage the voters to do their homework and recognize no one of us is perfect. We don't know everything, but look at the ones of us who are willing to go find the answers we don't necessarily know and to learn. And they just have to identify who they think would best represent them at the end of the day. Again, I just applaud everyone who's put themselves out there for the past couple months. for the election in less than 2 weeks, and it's who's still willing to step up and serve. So that's my answer, and I wish them all luck.
Why didn't you run for mayor?
I've been asked that many, many times, and I'll tell you what I told them. I felt like I did a good job of being a police chief, and before I could be a police chief, I had to be a patrolman. You know, I felt like I have a great idea of what our council does, but I've been on the other side of it. I might have the opportunity to now get involved as a council member and see what I can do to help my town on that side before making such a decision 4 years from now.
If you were elected, what would you do on day one as councilman?
Well, first, obviously, thank all the folks that voted for me and had that faith and trust in me to get me in here. You know, one of the first things I would make sure I do is just jump in and meet with our town administrator. You know, we have a strong council mayor situation, and our town administrator does a fantastic job. I'd sit down with him and obviously make sure that our first responders will continue to be taken care of properly, and ask him, you know, what are some of the pressing issues? What are some of the things that we as council need to work on? And then also with whoever wins council and whoever wins mayor, sit down with them and make sure they understand, how do we come to a consensus on things without the infighting, without the bickering, and with the understanding we're not always going to agree, but let's be respectful of each other. But at the end of the day, we work for the town; they're our customers, and that's what we need to be caring about.
And as you know, the town, and we talked about this throughout the interview, is getting bigger and bigger by the day. And there's so many new neighborhoods popping up every time I go over there every day. But would the town be, as far as town council, would it be ideal to have it as single member districts?
No, again, I've been asked that. I don't think so. You know, for me, and again, I've been in the town for 32 years, I've been a resident of this town for almost that long. And with the at-large, being able to just tap on any council member's shoulder and say, I got a concern about a particular issue, without that person saying, well, you need to go talk to Councilman B over there. I don't do that. I want to see us still be one town where we have a group of representatives. That's what they'll all work together, no matter whether you live, you know, down near the bridge, up here near Allendale. I want to be able to reach out to that council member and say, I need your help, without having to worry, who's my representative? We represent all the people. Plain and simple.
Chief Carl Ritchie, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much. I truly enjoyed it.
Likewise.